Hey folks, here, welcome to another episode of Founders Connect. Here I have conversations with amazing entrepreneurs and operators in the African tech ecosystem. Today we're having Eyitayo, the CEO of Utiva. How you doing?
I'm well. Good.
It's really good to have you here.
Thank you. Good
So,
to see you.
same here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Itimi, a change maker, professional, and creative who is passionate about growing people and growing businesses. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and please always share my videos. It promises to always be impactful and insightful. Okay, so I like to start my conversations with learning about the people. I mean, we're going to get to the business, but like you first. So like, what's your background? Where did you grow up? How was school like? What are your fondest childhood memories? Like any stories you can tell us, basically.
I think the most exciting childhood memory I have is going to church every time. Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, literally grew up at the church. Read the Bible back to back almost 4 times. Went for Bible quiz competition. That's like the most exciting part. Grew up in Lagos. Went to the first half of my secondary school in Ekiti State. My mom withdrew me, brought me back to Lagos. Completed in Lagos. Went to University of Ilorin. But in between, secondary school and university, I thought a lot. Like taught biology, chemistry, physics. Yeah, JAM, preparing people for JAM. Yeah, that was like the most exciting part of my teenage life. University was fun. I wanted to do medicine. I was dropped, so I just abandoned the whole medicine idea and the whole vision for being a doctor, and then I just focused on politics in school.
So what did you study?
Medical physiology eventually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was dropped from medicine, so I had to go study medical physiology. And because I wasn't excited about it, I just pivoted into doing school politics, NGOs, social programs, and all those things. Yeah, right. That was just it majorly.
Okay, so how did that dropping from medicine sort of like affect how you ended up becoming? Aside the fact that you ended up like, I want to do like politics and all of that stuff. Is there any other lessons or things that sort of changed for you?
Interesting. I mean, so when I was dropped from medicine, so because I grew up from the church, it's like the entire congregation knew that I was going to the university to study medicine.
Right.
And then you can imagine when the entire church raises money for you to go to school, and then you get to school 100 level, and then you're dropped.
And you were dropped because?
So the school had one very crazy policy of you shouldn't have more than 3 C's.
Oh,
we were not told. But the school admitted more than 250, which was the quota. We were pretty much dropped, almost like 150 of us, because we had more than 3 C's, and yeah, so it really affected me personally. Mm-hmm. I think for like a month I was really stressed out, depressed, tired. But I learned that I shouldn't hold on to anything really, because I just felt like, okay, we'll still do other things, right? I didn't tell my mom until I was on 300 levels.
Oh, so wow.
I didn't go
so for 2 years,
all.
She didn't know.
No, she didn't know. So I was just doing my thing. I tried to create and craft, excitement from other things. And that's one of the things that I have learned personally. When something doesn't work, you can just move on to other things. I mean, like the world is too big to just hold on to something aggressively. And that was like the lesson for me,
Yeah. And that's a very, very good lesson, actually. Something for people to remember, that just because something in your life is not going well doesn't mean that you can't find other things to give you joy at that particular time. Makes sense. So after school politics, when you graduated, how did your career sort of take off?
So left medical physiology. And
I never went back.
No, I wanted to, because I had been told by all the lecturers in the university that, there are opportunities in medical physiology. But then I got out of the school, got into the job market and started struggling, I was looking for almost a year. I was looking for a job as a medical physiologist or anything around it. I couldn't find one. And then for someone like me from a very low income background, it's like the entire world, people were really waiting for me to leave the university and support my younger sisters, support everyone. 1 year I couldn't get a job as a medical physiologist, and I started doing other things. Second year I was really looking for a job, but the second year was very exciting because I was looking for a job, and at the same time I was volunteering.
Right.
So I met a couple of different mentors. Many of them share the same story. I didn't know that. Interestingly, I met people like Eyitayo Ogunmola, who had went to the university to study something totally different and come back from the US as an Atlas Cup fellow. I was like, oh, why shouldn't I do great things too? I met people like Wale Salami, Owolabi Tobi Isaiah, amazing young guys They were really doing great things, and they are also gone to the university to study microbiology, you know, those very ridiculous courses. And I just felt like, okay, you know, we'll also do other things. So I started learning project management, and that was how, you know, I started in the semi-tech space. I wasn't really in the tech space. I was working with a consultant company that was building products, you know, for the government, and also building, you know, by situation and default, you know, for the technology companies that were, you know, around then.
Right.
So I didn't really know anything about the technology industry. I was just a project manager, you know, managing people and managing processes. But it felt in me, you know, I just thought about it that, okay, it looks like there is this industry that is exciting, that is fast rising, you know, what can I do in that space?
Right.
So I started to watch YouTube videos, and then I saw that there were no Stripe then, you know, there was no Andela, there was no Paystack, no Flutterwave. Like what we had as role models were InterSwitch, you know. So that in 2012, there was no technology.
There was no tech space in Nigeria.
It wasn't exciting.
Yeah.
But what was exciting was that I had mentors that were coming back from the US, coming back from the UK, and they could see BrainStation, Udacity, Udemy, you know, coming up in 2012.
Right.
And they told me in 2012 that, Eyitayo, you better plug yourself into the education space, because, you know, there's a company in the US called Udemy. They just started. Udacity just started. You know, BrainStation, many of those guys just started around that 2012. And I was like, okay, let's see what would happen. But there were no infrastructure to run, you know, tech online learning. So I was working as a project manager or product manager, if you would have it. And that was how I pretty much, you know, started.
Yeah. So at what point did you then shift and you got into tech really?
Yeah, so I got lucky, really. For me, I got lucky. 2015, I wanted to leave Nigeria, right? But I wasn't exactly sure how. So I had applied for a program called Atlas Core in the US. My mentor applied for the same program in 2012. So I thought, okay, Benga applied for this. I should just, So I tried and got selected. And they were building a technology company. So it was really luck. You know, 2012, my mentor had told me about the BrainStation, Udemy, Udacity, all of them were founded around that same time, you know. And then 2015, I got into Atlas Core to move into the US, and they were also building an online learning platform.
That's Atlas Core was?
Not Atlas Core, the host organization, Creative Associates.
Right.
So Atlas Core is supposed to connect me to an organization in the US. They had just built an e-learning platform, you know, called Creative U, and they were looking for a client support, you know, manager. And that was my opportunity to get into e-learning. And I was in the US, I was pretty much doing product management, but not at the high level of it, just like client support, you know, onboarding people, making sure that people are getting value. And then I pivoted into talking to the engineers, the developers that were building the product. And then my boss told me, you know, Sarah Gawal, Eyitayo, you're doing well in this, you know, just move on and be the product manager. And that was how, you know, my opportunity came, and I started, you know, project managing or product managing a tech learning platform, you know, and that was my opportunity to really get into that space.
That's very amazing. I mean, luck is so underrated.
Absolutely.
You can prepare, but like at some point, luck opportunity has to reach you, and of course you have to be ready to like jump on it at that time. So like when people look at your profile, how I got to know you is I can't remember from where, but what stuck was that you had done like 5 or so different fellowships. So after Atlas Core, you did another one. Like it was like every year back to back, it was either a scholarship for masters or this one or this one.
Absolutely.
So like after Atlas Core and you became a product manager, why didn't you just focus on building that career as against like going for fellowships and then building your own company? Like where did you decide, oh, you know what, I don't want to just build a career here and stay in the US or come back and look for a job. I want to get more value by going for these fellowships, but also eventually build my own company.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting one, because I remember in 2016, I wanted to do an MBA. You know, I had friends that had gone to do MBAs in like top universities, and then I couldn't, you know, because I didn't have the profile to get into like the top universities. I was not willing to settle for anything lesser than that. I mean, because it's the United States. You should, if you're in the US, you better get all the big opportunities.
She gets.
And then, you know, I also realized that I'd made a second class low at the university. So, and then there was no clear career path for me, because I just by accident I'd gotten into product management. there was really no story, to tell the premium universities, for a scholarship. So and then I saw a very big opportunity. I saw Africa was really rising, the numbers, the youth population, the fact that the universities were failing and people wanted more. And I was like, something is going to happen here, But I knew at 2015 and 16 that education was not really ready, because I studied the US pattern. You have to fix money, fix health, and then fix education. Like, that was the pattern I saw. And then, the US, just like Nigerians, we have a lot of things in common. Aggressive people, powerful people, outgoing people. I know that people would always want more, but I wasn't exactly sure when. So I played the card. I just asked myself, Eyitayo, the best thing to do is to move back to Nigeria and build a story. Build a story for yourself, run a social enterprise, run a technology company, build a story. It's going to take time, like 3 years, but you have to build a story. The story, eventually, if it sells, good for you. If it doesn't,
you might have a business.
You might have, of course.
Yeah.
So I said, I was just going to go back to Nigeria, to build something.
Yeah.
And use that as a way to give back. But I wasn't exactly sure. So I started H City Center, which is supposed to be like a platform to help people learn, undergraduates, And because I was doing like social good, the easiest opportunity to globalize, the opportunities of globalize myself was to access fellowship opportunities, And fellowship opportunities give you the premium privilege to really learn, build relationship, build network. And most importantly, for someone like myself, you have to build a name and an identity for yourself, because I had none. So fellowship opportunities really gave me that privilege, but I knew that I still had to go back to do an MBA, in one of those premium universities. And I haven't done that yet. I haven't. Because the MBA really gives you that opportunity to break into some network.
Yeah.
I mean, high level network. In a society where nobody really wants to like hand over things to you, because there are too many smart people in Nigeria. Too many. Like, everyone is so smart, doing great things. And you better be super smart, like extremely smart, to get out, in this country where if you check how many fintech companies do we have now, like how many ed techs, how many health technology companies, people are doing things. So I didn't have that privilege to be a part of that network. So I had to just go look for fellowship programs to give me that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. So when you started, like you said, it was still very nascent at that time, even at 2015. What are some of the challenges that you faced in building the social enterprise and business?
I think that the first challenge, when you compare to other industries, right? The first challenge that we experience, I'm going to pluralize this because I'm not the only one facing this, is the fact that we don't have the infrastructure and the institutional support to help accelerate, education. If you combine education with technology, it's like the education itself is collapsed already. So bringing technology into it doesn't fix it. You need to have education itself, and then technology helps to fast track or accelerate it. So it's like you're bringing technology into something that doesn't exist. You still have to build that substance itself. And the reason the fintech is really doing well is because, the banking industry has really done so much. There's BVN, that's why you can build an API. If there was no BVN, you would have to go and do BVN from the beginning. And education, like, there are no schools, there are no trainers, like universities are not ready to partner. And those are like the initial challenges that I face. Like, we literally spent 2 years of our life as Utiva trying to hack into the universities.
Right.
Like, moving from one school to another school, trying to get these universities to be excited about what we do. None. The university, they'll tell you, write to the vice chancellor. And then you come back after 1 month, it's still with the secretary to the vice chancellor. Like, that system, it's so difficult to break into. And I can give you like a number of super brilliant young guys that have tried to break that space,
Yeah.
but it's just very bureaucratic. So those were like the initial challenges that we experienced. And if you couldn't do that, how do you raise money? And because that space doesn't exist, the education space doesn't really exist in terms of being led by young people and all that. It was also very difficult to find talent. Where do you find them from? Do you go, poach someone from fintech to join education? Like, what education? Like, why should I leave, a fast-rising pay stack to join an education startup? Like, why? Because nothing existed in that space. But thanks to Andela, when Andela came, they just literally just broke that space.
Yeah.
And they didn't stay within the walls of education. And I was so super lucky. Because
How so?
Because Andela started in 2016. And that was the time I was in the US for my fellowship program.
Which of the fellowships?
Atlas Corps.
Right.
So I was building Creative U, and then I saw Andela in Nigeria. Like, that's my home country. This guy just raised $2 million. Wow, education is possible now. And that was like an opportunity for me to say, I'm going to go plug myself into that space. And I'm really grateful for the things that Andela did. Because if Andela had not done that, Andela just created an atmosphere to help scale, the opportunity to learn tech skills.
Yeah.
And I found that, as an opportunity, for the work that we do here.
Amazing. So tell us how Utiva has evolved over the last couple of years. I know that when I first learned about Utiva, it was mostly just data science courses you were doing.
Absolutely.
But now you guys are doing like different. So in what different ways has the company evolved?
Yeah, so when we started with undergraduates in the universities. As I mentioned, we wanted to train undergrad, help them prepare for the future of work. We couldn't. Then we decided I sat down one morning, with my team and said, we're going to stop this undergraduate thing. And then we're just going to build a learning platform for Africans to access tech skill training. In 2017, you better not mention to people to come learn online because, there were physical training opportunities for them, NIT and all these guys were there. So we started with physical training. We're doing physical training, data science, flooding the whole of Yaba.
Why did you start with data science?
So we're really looking for, I think it was the market. If you ask me, I think it was the market. There are two different markets, right? The first market, young people that are looking to learn tech skills to get into job opportunities. The business model around that is quite very complicated because they don't have the personal, financial capability to fund the learning. You're talking about training you in software development for 6 months. Who pays for it? Yeah. And then there was another market of people who actually had money. Maybe not a lot of it. People that were earning 80,000, 90,000. They wanted to learn, more skills to improve the work that they do, and then learn another tech skill to get into a job market. And because there was no access to funding for us, we had to focus on the market that has the power to pay.
Right.
So we're really looking for, purchasing power, market with the purchasing power. And that was a very tough decision because there was a market we were ignoring.
Yeah.
But data science data science is such a skill that when you have it, you can deploy into whatever you do right now. Because every organization needs to make more data-centric, decision. Yeah. And then we flooded the entire market. We literally trained almost like 5,000 people.
Wow.
In data science, data analytics here and
all physical trainings at that time?
We're doing like physical training. I would say about 2,000, 3,000 physical training, and then COVID happened. Yeah. But before COVID, we saw another market, which is the product management market. So we're pretty much like a team that we're trying to just unveil new opportunities. So what new skills do we need to push out there? What new skill training do we need to push out there to get young people and more people to learn so that they can access the technology industry, right? Yeah. Data science, and then we did product management. And COVID happened in 2020. And that was an opportunity for us to really scale. And we're doing data science training online, product management training online, design. We launched our design school. We launched our AI school. We thought that AI school was going to be exciting. And then we had just 40 people, and then 20, and then 10.
Wow.
So we had to pause the AI school. We launched the cloud program. We launched, we've launched a couple of different learning programs, and also within those programs, we've also created new markets. For example, we launched our data science fellowship program for Africans abroad. that wants to. So we also realized that Africans were moving outside, and they were looking for something to prepare them for the opportunities out there. So we've just evolved to become a one-stop shop, for everything.
For everything tech skills. Amazing. What would you say is your biggest win so far?
That's a couple of different things. I think that for the organization, you mean, right?
Both.
For the organization, I would say the kind of team that we've had, the type of persons that have come all this way to build, Utiva, super brilliant executors, came at a very early stage, and then we had this very brilliant, thinkers, also joined the team. Right now it is quite very exciting because we're trying to create a more internal team balance, executors and thinkers, but the team has been the biggest win. I also cascade that to the faculty. I think that the fact that people are happy to rally, it takes a village to be able to raise a child. So people are happy to rally around what you're doing and support it and get it out there. I think that's the biggest win. Personally for me, I still think that my biggest win is the UK Global Talent. I honestly still think it just gives you this. I feel that it's easy to run a company when you have a backup plan. I just kind of feel that it's easy. I think most entrepreneurs will not say it out, because everybody just want to sound like, oh, I love Nigeria. Nigeria loves us too, right? But there's this calmness that I have in the inside of me.
No.
That I just knowing that, okay, if you guys do anyhow, now I'll carry my passport and just go to London and stay another 3 months and I'll come back, It just gives me that ability to really innovate. Nothing terrifies me again, honestly. Unlike some 1 year ago that I'm always checking the bank account. How much do we have now? Can we pay salaries? How can we pay this rent? Can we do this? If we can't pay now, then I'll go back to London and go and pay. That's just pretty much the way I think about it. I don't think I'm under that pressure.
So just knowing that you have a solid backup plan.
Absolutely. And then for your family too, because family places a lot of pressure on you, especially when you are now married and you see that people are saying, hey, Nigeria is terrible, Nigeria is this, Nigeria is that. I'm like, you people leave now, go and stay in London and then go and stay in the UK. And I'm here building. So that's the biggest win for me. On the other side, the biggest win for the company is the team. The team is just exciting. Amazing guys.
Amazing. Some of the things I have picked at the very beginning, you just talked about when you got disappointed from med school, when you got disappointed because you left med school, and just finding other ways to find joy. And then you talked about creating a story. And I think that's also a very powerful message.
Absolutely.
Because for people that, it's very centered for people that are coming from low-income backgrounds to know that, whether we like it or not, where we are coming from has a huge role to play in the kind of access that we have. And so if you're going to then break these boundaries that you were born with, you have to literally do more.
Absolutely.
And creating for yourself a story gives you access to much more opportunities. I think that's a very powerful one. And also just talking about finding a team and having a backup plan. But aside these things that you've mentioned in your story, what are other very key lessons that you've learned along the way, or things that are guiding principles for your journey?
I think I will share from a much more industry perspective, right? It's picking your struggle as an entrepreneur. You really need to be ready to pick your struggle. I think that the entrepreneurial landscape is kind of divided into multiple facets. There are guys that are layering on what others have built. There's a banking industry that is thriving, and then the fintech comes and builds on it. There was an InterSwitch that has built the cards. There was a MasterCard. There was a Verve card. So if you start a Paystack, you layer on what those guys have done, and then you can move faster, you can accelerate. So for an entrepreneur, I think that you really need to understand that whatever you do, you're going to pay your dues. So if you are the InterSwitch, you need to know that there's going to be another Paystack, Flutterwave, that will fast track the industry. So you need to be ready. For someone that is in the education space, education or tech learning, in this part of the world is still very, very young at it's very early stage. Most people try and like run away from that space yet because some people need to like pay their dues.
Yeah.
You know. But if you come in the next 10 years into the space, you still pay your dues, right? You can imagine some 8 years ago, I'm sure there were not many Nigerians that were watching YouTube, right? And today, people are watching YouTube and you're doing content on YouTube and there's a TikTok. You know, if you pivot to TikTok, there's going to be another thing, you know. So for me, it's always preparing for the second round of the opportunity, the second round of the challenge. And that's the way I see, you know, building. You know, if you build Utiva to a point, you need to know for certain that with all the struggles, some guys are going to wake up in the next 2-3 years. They'll build some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll disrupt the whole space.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready for that disruption, you know, you'll become that traditional company that provides advisory. You know, and they will do all those great work and move faster than you. And that's one of the things that I constantly remind myself. You know, so on the side, I'm building like 2 other companies. You know, preparing for the future. You know, maybe they're going to become products or become companies. We just have to know that something is going to happen in the future because something happened in 2016 when I wanted to come into the space. There were nobody except maybe university and also Andela, you know. And this space has evolved so much.
A lot more now.
You know, so I need to always prepare for that evolution. And then the second thing is that for me, it's always about you. That's one of the things I learned that quite very late. That as an entrepreneur, we always think it's about the business, about the company. But you need to remember that you need to be all right. You know, with all the pressure, all the, you know, the things you experience as an entrepreneur, the saner you are, the more innovative you become. You know, if you let that pressure get the best of you, you know, you'll find it difficult. Exactly. So many times I try to like make sure that I'm taking care of myself the way I want and making sure that I'm taking so many time off work, resting, relaxing, and getting back to the business to like do a lot of things at the same time. The third one for me is what you talked about. For people that really come from very low income background, it's trying your best to get out of that space, you know, because there is a bigger space, you know, there's a bigger space. I would never imagine that, you know, you would have 150 million in your account. There were no role models for those kind of things where I came from, you know.
You even had to dream it.
Yeah. To even dream it was difficult because, I mean, the biggest dream I had when I was a young person was some people stealing, you know, some thieves coming to one rich man's house, then taking one big Ghana must go of money and police pursuing them and they just dump it in my that was the biggest, you know, the biggest dream we had. That was what success looked like then. It has to be, a miracle.
Yeah.
There was no way we could have imagined that we would ever have, like, run a business that would do 100 million, 200 million. Where? So the earlier you get out of that box and just go find a way to connect with people that are already experiencing that reality, the better it is for you. You know, so one of the things I did for myself was getting into those fellowship programs. You know, those fellowship programs exposed me. I was part of many conversations where people were talking about big things. I didn't have them, but I heard them. And faith honestly comes by hearing. You know, so I heard many of those things multiple times. I met many mentors that really, you know, talked about success, like real success. And then I started believing it. You know, it took me 7 years to apply for a master's, you know, because I never imagined, you know, how that one government will fund my master's program. Never imagined. Woo, nobody had done it. Where I came from, no one. So, and I know that many Africans, you know, really struggle with, you know, dreaming because most times there are no templates and benchmarks.
Yeah.
But the easiest thing you can do is to get out, you know, connect with mentors, connect with, build new ecosystems or hack ecosystems, join networks where people are talking about successes and big things, and you start to believe them. And then you replicate whatever you believe. And that's like one of the things. So right now I still believe that there are bigger games.
Of course.
Perhaps like bigger games. And then there are no templates. So, but you need to connect with people that have done it, so that you can hear it and then replicate that success. And that's what I'm doing right now, like talking to almost all the founders in the education space in the US, like meetings upon meetings, just listening to them, hear them, 10 minutes conversation. How did you do it? What are you doing? You know, people are sharing, people are connecting me, and I'm intentional about it. The reason I'm doing this with you is because where I come from, no one had raised $10 million in education, thanks to ULESE. You know, because ULESE doesn't know what he's doing. That guy has helped the next 2 generations of tech entrepreneurs in the education space, because it's now showing that it's possible. And that's, you know, that's the beauty. And that's one of the things I am doing right now, like connecting with many people, learning, hearing, and believing the success.
Amazing. I mean, now, right, when you apply for fellowships and scholarships or an MBA, I mean, I can imagine that it's a lot easier because now there's a story, there's proof, there's structure.
Absolutely.
But for people who do not have a story yet, who do not know that I can qualify for these scholarships, what are some tips that you can offer to people who are like, I would like to, but I don't know how to start. I don't know where to find them.
Yeah.
I don't know how to position myself as a beginner. Like what, based on your experience doing like a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I started too, I was very confused. I mean, where do you start from and all the stuff? But I did just 3 things. Start, you know, build something, even if it's just a very small startup, small organization, or volunteer, or be a part of something big. Just make sure that you're a part of, or you're building something.
Yeah.
That's the first thing to do. The second thing to do is to mimic or mirror stories. You know, mirror stories. Research many of the people that you call mentors and role model, and see how these guys tell their stories. You know, the best you will give to yourself is to say, hey, I'm not here yet, but at least this is how this guy tells a story, and then you can mirror it. So for example, if Eyitayo says, oh, I am building a technology startup that helps to disrupt learning in Africa, I mean, you can say, I'm building a technology startup that helps young people to learn in Africa. You can mirror stories, because we all mirror, right? I mirror so many great guys. I mirror Udacity, I mirror Brain Station, I mirror Habwab, mirror great guys that are doing great things. So you can also mirror, you know. The third one will be to apply. You know, you just have to. Many times you underrate, I don't know if that's the word, you know, the capacity of the works that you have done. And because you're the one doing it, and it's part of human nature, we're like fire, we always want to consume more.
Yeah.
But it's okay if you want to consume more, try to apply, you know, and tell your story. Put out, I mean, I've applied for many fellowship programs that have been rejected. And many of them, you know, have been accepted. And most times when I'm accepted, it's just a game of luck. You know, I put out my best foot, try my best, submit, and expect. You know, and many times some of them I really think, oh, this one I've got it, and then they never come back. And some of them I just give up, and then they come back. So you need to apply. You need to put yourself out there. Like, just throw yourself out there. Even when I applied for my UK Global Talent, you know, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't sure. I saw my recommendations. Well, okay, I'd done stuff, but YouTube, I watched the videos of guys that were selected now, and I was intimidated. I said, this guy is going to pick one guy from Nigeria that has never done much, you know. And then I was given a 5-year, and I was like, oh yeah, this is good. You know, so you should always like put yourself out there. Just apply for big things, and you're not the one reviewing the application. So it's the story that you tell. You know, there's a lot more in terms of storytelling, but I always feel that Africans, we all have stories. It's like we all have one bad thing that has happened to us. And
that you can literally always ride on.
We've all been, you know, if you apply and you tell the story of what hurts you or what hurts things that you see around you, and keep it very simple, because the guys that are reviewing are probably guys that have never seen your reality, you would access some opportunities. But if you're rejected, keep applying.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And I think as we were going to end, and if I would just recap the last thing that you said, it's start something. It could be your own business, it could be volunteering, it could be joining something big, but there has to be a level of capacity, and that comes by literally giving yourself these opportunities. And then the second one, I think I missed that.
So the second one is to mirror.
Yes, to mirror, exactly.
Absolutely.
So mirror great stories, right? Find people who are doing things that you would like to do, and basically just mirror them, more or less duplicate, and then. And I get the sense, or what I understand from mirroring is that if you can mirror at the beginning, but by the time you begin to do and apply, you begin to want to understand your own self better, and so you can then craft your own original story after some time. And of course, apply. I always tell people that every application is a numbers game. Whether you're looking for a job, the more jobs you apply for, the higher chances that you will get a good one. The more fellowships you apply for, the higher chances that you get some more. So apply, apply, apply. Any final words?
None. Apply is the final
apply
word.
Is the final word.
I mean, just go out and do your thing. Apply. I think that the health is still the Lord's. You know, there's a lot to get out of this world, and you'll be shocked where the kind of opportunities that you access. But just keep pushing yourself out there.
Amazing, amazing. Just keep putting yourself out there, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.